Well, hello again, my friends. You are listening to the Royal Ramble, and I am your host, Blaine the Brain. And what a time it is to be a wrestling fan, am I right? We're all in store for a crazy Labor Day weekend coming up, and I'm sure we've all been working hard all year, so we've kind of earned the right to have a full weekend of relaxation and unwinding. We're going to be following a couple of wrestling promotions as they take us with them around the world in about 2 or 3 days. Yes, that's right, we're going from Toronto to Chicago, all the way to Cardiff, Wales. I kind of sound a bit like Scott Stanford right now, but as much as I'd like to be your buddy and your pal, I do believe that job has already been taken. Although those are two terms that may appear pretty foreign in the AEW locker room as of late. I've got to say that I'm not at all envious of the job that Tony Khan must have to do to restore order and play peacemaker to keep his troops in check, but hopefully it all works out for him. But on that subject, this is too heavy a show for me to cover alone. I will be joined a little later on by one of my loyal listeners and Chicago's own Jake Allonar, who will be attending the All Out event next weekend. We will be previewing that card in the second half of the show. But before we get there are a couple of other shows to get through, and they both have to do with WWE, which will also have a pretty hectic weekend coming up. So without any further ado, I'm going to get right into it. For those who have been following NXT lately, although I can't blame you if you tuned out following the rebranding last fall, can you believe it's almost been a year of 2.0 already? And it looks like we may be in store for 3.0 very soon, because as seen on the TV in recent weeks, the British are coming, or should I say they've arrived. So they have their big Worlds Collide event taking place next weekend, and thus far only 2 matches have been made official, but they are big too. The rest of the card I'm sure is expected to take shape this coming week. Well, I guess it would have to, being the go-home show and all. There really wasn't a lot of time to book this one, but I feel like they put forth a decent effort to attract some interest in the short time that they had. The NXT and NXT UK women's titles will be up for grabs in a unification match featuring 2.0 women's champion Mandy Rose taking on UK women's champ and legend Miko Satomura, and for some reason there is a third element in this equation in the form of Blair Davenport. She has declared herself as the number 1 contender for the UK title, though this is still pretty weird. If you've been following the UK brand, Sarray actually issued a challenge to Satomura recently, but I don't believe that match ever came to fruition. From a booking standpoint, Mandy Rose has been tremendous in her role lately, but I'm sure it'll be the 2 UK talents that carry the bulk of the workload in this one. Not to say that Mandy is a bad in-ring performer, but I personally don't think she can keep up with or match the skill set of the other 2. However, as I said, she is the strongest character of the 3, so it'll be interesting to see which way they go with it. Ultimately, I think Davenport is only in this match to either take the pin or steal the pin, which means both of the other women would have lost their belts. I can see them moving Mandy back up to the main roster along with her Toxic Attraction teammates, but given the recent injury to Gigi Dolan, I don't see that happening just yet. So as I suggested earlier, I think Miko will have Davenport defeated, only for Mandy to sneak in and steal the win, and thus unify the belt, so Miko still remains strong not having been pinned, and Mandy can brag about the win on TV. It doesn't do much for Davenport, but either way, they can build to a one-on-one match down the line between Rose and Satomura. The other unification match will be the main event, and it is a pretty disappointing one for all who have been or are following the UK brand. I don't mean that it won't be a good match, because it will in fact be a show stealer. But unfortunately, the UK product is taped while 2.0 is not, and therefore the times of the shows haven't been in sync. In fact, as of this podcast, a new UK champion has yet to be even crowned. The question here is kind of the same with the women's match. Is Braun Breaker ready for the main roster? I think he might be, but I still think he has a lot left to do in NXT. And so I firmly believe that he is walking away the unified champion, but should have probably his best match to date. There are a number of options for the finish. I can see it ending clean, but given that Bate is in his heated feud with his former Mustache Mountain teammate Trent Seven, I can also see Seven getting involved and costing him the titles, and then those two branch off into their own feud, which I don't think needs the belt attached to it. There is also a built-in storyline for Breaker once Ilya Dragunov comes back and seeks to reclaim what was once his. By the way, for those of you who saw the premiere episode of House of the Dragon, Dragunov bears a striking resemblance to Daemon Targaryen, doesn't he? That show takes place in a castle, as will the next WWE show, although I don't think literally. But it is the Clash at the Castle event next weekend in Cardiff, Wales, and this show is shaping up to be one of the best of the year, at least from an in-ring perspective. It is indeed time to play the game. So thus far, we have the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, who will not be defending her title on pay-per-view for the first time since she won it. And yes, WrestleMania Backlash doesn't count, because technically she didn't have a match. But she will be teaming with some strange bedfellows in Asuka and Alexa Bliss to take on the new faction of Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky in a 6-woman tag team encounter. This match should be very explosive, as all of these women have been having really good matches on TV lately, and they really need to come up with a name for Bayley's group if it's supposed to be long-term. I don't think it would be wise for the upstart heel faction to lose their first match as a team, so what I think will happen is Bianca will be isolated for the majority of the match, and just when she's trying to make the hot tag to Bliss, Bliss's expression turns serious and she hops off the apron, refusing to tag. Asuka extends her hand, but Bliss pulls her from the apron and whips her into the steel steps, and then walks out on the match. Bianca, left confused, ends up eating all 3 finishers of the heel team, and Bayley gets the pin. Remember, because Bliss called out the winner of the Becky vs. Bianca match before SummerSlam and never got her shot, so I think they'll definitely revisit that. Also on the card is the match between Riddle and Seth Rollins. This feud has really been heating up. I'm still a little confused as to why it was scrapped from SummerSlam, but I think it might be a better position for these two on this card, and I'm definitely expecting a show stealer here. It might even be the opener. This is one of the matches that I think has to end clean, and I think a win here would benefit Riddle a lot more than Rollins. So I think Riddle finally gets his win against Seth on pay-per-view via Bro Derek, but I can't see this one ending here. Of all the matches on the card, the SmackDown Women's title match between Liv Morgan and Shayna Baszler is probably the most underwhelming, but that's mostly because Liv just isn't booked as a credible champion, and I think it was a mistake not turning her heel when they had the chance. But who knows, they might still. I think Shayna will probably end up ragdolling Liv around the ring for most of the match, because they have to make her look strong even if she's going to be losing, which I think is inevitable. I can see Ronda getting involved here, and as security is trying to prevent her from getting to ringside, it's Shayna who ends up being distracted rather than Liv, and Liv once again sneaks in a roll-up victory out of the Kelly Kelly playbook to keep the belt. Look, I really want to get behind Liv. I'm definitely happy for her, but at the end of the day, she hasn't been booked like a champion should, and that's really not her fault. One match that could be sleeper for match of the night is what I see being a brutal contest between Sheamus and Gunther, and I somehow doubt that Sheamus' chest is going to be the same color coming out of it as it is going in. Sheamus is another talent like Liv Morgan who hasn't been presented as any kind of threat, and just seems like the challenger of the month. At the very least, I'm expecting these guys to just tear into each other and work extremely stiff, which I think benefits Sheamus because he seems to pair better with guys who work that style. I'm going to say Gunther retains clean here with a double powerbomb. There are a few other matches that have been teased on Raw lately but not made official. Obviously, as of Monday, we should know for sure, but I'm just going to boldly predict that the following matches will be added. Based on the segment from this past Monday, I'd say Johnny Wrestling makes a triumphant in-ring return against his former protege, Theory, which should be another strong match. I'm still not sold on the Judgment Day yet. They haven't really done a lot to convince me that they aren't just another Retribution. I think we're getting a 6-person tag with that faction against the team of Rey Mysterio, Edge, and Beth Phoenix, and this is probably where Dominic finally turns to the dark side and double-crosses his dad, leading to a Judgment Day victory. And what a shame it would be if AJ Styles were kept off yet another pay-per-view card. I think we're getting a 4-way for the US title with AJ, Miz, Ciampa, and Lashley, where Dexter makes his presence felt early and basically takes AJ out of the match, and then as Lashley is about to submit Miz in the Hurt Lock, Ciampa schoolboys him, and with Lashley disoriented after releasing the hold on Miz, Ciampa basically steals the title. And finally, we have the main event between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Universal title. I've gone back and forth about how I would book this one. I've thought about Karrion Kross potentially getting involved, but I wouldn't want the main event to be too overbooked, at least not the match itself, so we'll keep it with a pretty clean finish. Basically, before the bell, Roman tries to cheap shot Drew, but Drew sees him coming and catches him head on with a claymore, and everyone thinks it'll be over that quickly, but the referee refuses to count because the match hasn't started yet, and instead allows Roman to recover and let him know when he's ready. Once the bell rings, McIntyre tries for another claymore, but this time Roman exits to the floor. Drew chases him out and grabs the sword, but the referee tries to negotiate it away from him. Drew eventually puts the sword down on the floor, but the momentary distraction allows Roman to spear Drew through the security wall. From then on, the focus of the match is on Drew's back injury, and Roman zeroes in on the back for the rest of the match. The finish comes when Drew mounts a comeback and finally hits the claymore, but as he lands on his injured back, he's unable to capitalize. They both struggle to their feet, and Roman spears Drew back first into the exposed buckle that was exposed earlier in the match. He then follows up with a second spear for the final 3 count. The Usos then come out with Heyman and basically carry Roman to the back as it's clear that he's been through a war. Then Drew finally makes it to his feet to a standing ovation, only to lock eyes with Scarlett at ringside. She places the hourglass in the ring, and Drew is attacked from the blind side by Karrion Kross with a steel chair. Kross proceeds to do a number on Drew's back with the chair, and then finally powerbombs him through the announce table, so they do an injury angle with Drew to close the show. So now we have what I like to do after every pay-per-view preview, and that is the fantasy forecast, where I will attempt to predict the card for the next WWE Premium Live event, Extreme Rules, on October 8th. I'm not going to bother with NXT for now because I'm not sure when their next special will be or who will even be on the roster by then. But here's what I predict to happen at the WWE pay-per-view Extreme Rules on October 8th. Roman Reigns versus Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre in a triple threat Extreme Rules match for the WWE Universal title. Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey in a submission match for the SmackDown Women's title. Bianca Belair versus Bayley versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka in a fatal 4-way match for the Raw Women's title. Theory versus Johnny Gargano in a ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio representing Judgment Day versus Edge and the Street Profits in a 6-man elimination match as Rey Mysterio refuses to wrestle his son Dominic, so he opts out of the match. Rhea Ripley versus Beth Phoenix in a last woman standing match. Bobby Lashley versus Ciampa for the US Championship. Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title. So that takes care of the WWE portion of the show. I hope you've enjoyed these fantasy predictions thus far, and still more to come. Let's turn the volume up and go all elite, shall we? Okay, so I really don't know what that even means. Here's my chat with AEW superfan Jake Allonar. So before we talk about the All Out pay-per-view this coming weekend, next weekend, there have been a number of rumors floating about that certain AEW talents are unhappy in the promotion or refuse to get along with some of their fellow All Eliters. So let's start with the basics here. Tony Khan actually held a mandatory talent meeting prior to Dynamite this week to address some of these issues. Jake, what do you make of all of this, and how do you think it should be handled?
I think we're seeing a little bit of that WCW vibe where the inmates are kind of running the asylum a little bit that I've noticed. Reading some of those reports on PW Insider and Fightful. So, we heard. It's interesting when we heard some of this, and you see, Kenny Omega and Matt Jackson, as well as Chris Jericho, trying to address the roster, and as well as Tony Khan putting his share as well. So, I mean, it's. I just want to see where it goes from here. As of right now, I'm enjoying how it's going on screen, but hopefully it wouldn't go too far. I mean, we've seen all the reports coming out that some of this stuff stemmed from Colt Cabana as regards to the Punk and Hangman beef. Whether it's we can argue if it's a work or shoot or whatever it is, but I kind of feel bad for Colt Cabana, to be honest with you, because you can argue that he's the most influential independent independent wrestler
Right.
of all time, because he was the guy that without Cole Cabana, there wouldn't be a pro wrestling tease. He was one of the first, if not the first, wrestler to start podcasting, to pave the way for others to have their own podcasts. So, I mean, hopefully, like, I'll have Tony Khan just sit down with all of the crew, all of the talents, if he can, like one by one. I know he's busy doing a lot of stuff, even outside his wrestling ventures. And it's great. But I will say it's great that we saw the reports a couple weeks that there has been some backstage promotions. Tony Schiavone is now being involved in talent relations. I know Sanjay Dutt, Pat Buck is being involved in terms of like creative coordination and talent relations. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction, and but this is not old news. Well, this is not brand new breaking news. I mean, we all know that this industry, that is professional wrestling, is built around big egos and wanting to be the best. But like, hey, dude, I don't blame them. And Punk has that old school mentality that he wants to be the best. He wants to be, he wanted to be a part of the main event at WrestleMania for many years. He wants to be the world champion. And the old saying goes, like, what did Austin famously say? Look, if you're in this industry and you don't have the desire to be the world champion or to be the best at what you do, you have no business being in this industry. So
exactly. So let's focus on the match itself between CM Punk and Jon Moxley this past week. And this is kind of a two-part question. I'm sure many of us, myself included, were shocked at the outcome. First of all, do you believe that the CM Punk injury was legit? And also, do you think that the talent meeting had anything to do with how this match was booked?
It's interesting. When I saw the kick when he tried to give him a head kick on Wednesday on Dynamite, it's like he clobbered Moxley with the right foot, and then he was selling the left foot a lot. And I don't know if he was like putting a lot of pressure on it. Yeah, I was like, oh, is that a little bit of a mishap there? Did he kick him with the wrong foot and then try to make a botch there? But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's still some issues with that leg. I mean, I did see when I met Punk at C2E2, and it was a great time. Getting to talk to him for a few minutes. I mean, he was walking fine, but I saw one of my friends, Scrub, who works at Pro Wrestling Tees. He did have to ice his knee a little bit, but it's interesting because I was listening to Dave Meltzer on Sunday Night's Main Event this past week that it's still going to be Punk and Moxley at All Out. He said there's no backup plan, and I was reading the Observer this morning. I mean, the new Observer, the latest issue of the Observer came out this morning, and I was reading it before I got here. Is that as of right now, it's still Moxley and Punk at All Out. There's it's set in stone. It's made clear. So yeah, I don't. After reading that, I mean, I'm not sure what the point was for. If that's the case, then I'm not sure what the point was for this title changeover. But to be honest with you, I kind of enjoyed enjoyed that squash. To be honest with you, because it was kind of like like shades of Lesnar and Goldberg back in Survivor Series, which it's like you didn't expect it to happen. And that was like that was right in the moment. It was right there in the moment. I was like, my face, my jaw dropped watching that, and it made Moxley more legitimate, especially with the promo that he did right after, saying that my time is now. I am the best. So, but to be honest with you, I'm very curious where it goes from here and see what the go home show for Dynamite what it looks like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure to see how they actually get to that rematch, because as of right now, there's really no desire. Just based on how that match ended, it ended pretty clean. I mean, there wasn't really any chicanery or anything like that. I guess the injury could be used as an excuse, but Punk,
Sure.
based on his...
He lost clean. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
He lost clean. I mean, I'm not sure, like, why would you go to that rematch already? But it's still... I'm pretty sure it's still going to be a big match at the pay-per-views.
Yeah, for sure. And my only guess is that maybe they wanted Punk to have a big win in his hometown of Chicago, where he wins the title back. But
Sure.
it'll be interesting, as I said, how they even get to that point. And it's interesting, even they've had maybe 3 months since Double or Nothing to build to this show, and they basically put it together like all within the last month or so.
Yeah, especially the last month, which has been pretty interesting.
Yeah.
However, this could be the start of the seeds being planted for a heel turn down the road for Punk. As you can see, right after in the immediate aftermath, like Punk was being carried out with the referee, with the agents, and you can see he was looking around the crowd, wondering if made me wonder like if he feels betrayed by the crowd. So that could be a big aspect there that we should watch out on.
Yeah, and having said that, I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if he's been working us this whole time with his whole like issues with Hangman Page or Jon Moxley or whoever else. I wonder if this is all a big work and he's just playing that heel character. It'll be interesting for sure.
That's what I love about it. It's like I feel that 9-year-old fanboy in me. It's like the lines are so blurred between what's a work and what's shoot. So I really enjoy it. I'm just gonna sit back and just enjoy the ride.
For sure. So yeah, if they are intending to turn him heel, I don't think Chicago would be the right venue to do it. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know if turning heel in your hometown will be the best thing, but I mean, we've seen it. Like I was there at the Allstate Arena.
They did it with Austin back in the day. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I remember back in the Allstate Arena, like no matter what, so we would still back Punk, no matter what. So but I'm just happy that he's still around me. He's been my favorite wrestler ever since I was a kid. So
yeah,
he's still
for
my
sure.
favorite.
So one match that has been announced for the card, well, not quite, but it'll be the finals of the Trios tournament. Firstly, do you feel like this company has way too many titles?
Absolutely, especially since the All Atlantic Championship. But I was happy at Forbidden Door when Pac finally got his due diligence after that. But especially since the Ring of Honor acquisition. That Tony Khan, even they have their own trios title, the 6-man tag team title, and it's held by Dalton Castle and his crew. So that's a lot of titles, and we've accused WWE before of not making their titles very important. I mean, hopefully, what I do like about it so far is that it's not being defended majority of the titles are not being defended every week, so maybe there's some sort of balance there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I really hope there won't be a new title being introduced, at least in the next couple of years at this point.
Yeah. So I made this prediction a while back. I think it was in the SNME radio group, or it might have been my own group, regarding the whole situation with the Bucks and Red Dragon and Cole, the Undisputed Era. It's interesting, too, that they did this hot angle with Cole and Red Dragon turning on the Bucks, but then there was really little to no follow-up, and Cole and his guys aren't even booked on the show. I know a couple of them are injured, but why not wait to do the angle is my question. And my prediction was that because Hangman was reluctant to team with the Bucks, I thought that they would do something where Cole and Red Dragon would end up taking out Dark Order and end up replacing them in the tournament, and Hangman, that would then motivate Hangman to team with the Bucks. Obviously, with Kenny Omega back, that's not happening, but that would have made for great storytelling, I think.
I mean, to me, you got to put Young Bucks and Omega in the finals for that tournament. I mean, I think the most logical one is to see Dark Order to be their opponents. Maybe. The thing that seems to make sense is that one of the Dark Order guys be taken out with an injury, maybe at least by either Fish and O'Reilly, and then or something which would put Hangman Page into the match. So that could be very interesting. But Yeah, we seem to have no follow up as regards to Adam Cole. Just trying to catch up with Being the Elite, as that's still my favorite YouTube show, and nothing was really addressed there as well. So hopefully, well, as far as Adam Cole's healthy, we'll see what the liaison between him and Omega would be like. I mean, I would love to see Omega and Cole have a one-on-one match, at least in the next pay-per-view, or if not in Grand Slam in New York City.
Absolutely. So another shocking announcement made this past week on Dynamite was that Thunder Rosa is forced to vacate the women's title due to injury, and that belt is now being held up and will be decided in a four-way at the pay-per-view. It'll be Dr. Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, and Jamie Hayter. Personally, I can see all but maybe Shida winning this belt, and that's not a shot at Shida, but I just feel that she hasn't really been positioned as well as the others lately. Who do you see as the new champion coming out of this one?
I mean, for the past few weeks, I've seen Toni Storm being supported by the crowd a lot. So I would love to see Toni Storm get that belt. I mean, at this point, I don't think Britt. I mean, her personality is so good. She's so charismatic. I don't think she needs a belt right now. Maybe in the near future that'll definitely happen. But since it's the interim title, I would love to see Toni Storm at least get that chance to shine on the main stage. But I feel bad for Thunder Rosa
for sure,
just like being out of action as of right now. I kind of wish that it wasn't like a backstage segment with Tony Schiavone and she would address it in the ring. Now it's like kind of like out there. I was like, oh, that caught me off guard. But yeah, we'll just but I am looking forward to this four-way match for this interim title. I'm pretty sure it's going to be, all four ladies are so good in the ring, and I'm pretty sure they'll deliver in that.
For sure. Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson was also just added to the card and could be a show stealer, I would think. Do you expect
this could be the match of the night? Actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah,
for sure. But I mean, looking at the card, I mean, there could be several matches of the night, to be honest.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you expect to see Do you expect to see Daniel Garcia getting involved here, and whom do you think he'll ultimately align himself with?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure that he'll be at ringside. He'll come out of ringside later in the match, but I could see where Garcia just losing it at times, and he'll have enough, and maybe with a referee by his back, like with his back turned, we'll see Garcia just slapping Jericho and cost him the match. I could see that aspect, right. But again, we can see it. We can see that there will be a swerve here, which will not actually see Garcia just playing around and aligning with Jericho once again, and just swerving the entire community. So
I think, honestly speaking, I think it might go that way. I was thinking of that earlier, actually. They can do the classic student versus teacher feud, the Sabisco Sammartino classic, but with him and Garcia and Danielson again. I think that's a feud that definitely has more legs to it. And hopefully we see it develop, because honestly, if Garcia, let's say he joins the Blackpool Combat Club, they already have the young Lion and Wheeler Yuta, so I can see some kind of jealousy angle there.
Wheeler Yuta, exactly.
And I guess Inner Circle kind of
guys that is already. So
yeah, I guess Jericho's group kind of does with Sammy Guevara, although he's not really an official member. But
sure.
we'll see how it goes. So there is another trios match on the card as well. It'll be Wardlow teaming with FTR, and I honestly didn't realize until now that these three were actually in the Pinnacle together. I just put that together. I completely forgot. But they will be.
Well, yeah, it was still that kind of, because Wardlow was more of the background
right
type of person in the Pinnacle. So yeah, I understand that you had forgotten though.
So they will be taking on the team of Jay Lethal and my favorite tag team from Impact Wrestling, the Motor City Machine Guns. This match could be insane, and I'm looking forward. I hope the Machine Guns are either sticking around or that they've kind of worked out a deal with Impact Wrestling where FTR goes over there. This match should be insane, as I said, and hopefully we see more of these two teams involved together. Given that the Guns are from Impact, do you see any kind of talent exchange going on here?
This could be one of them. The beginning of the. I mean, we did see this a couple years ago, having a relationship with AEW and Impact, but it was very one-sided with Tony Khan.
Oh yeah, 100% one-sided.
It was like one of the biggest ball droppers, in my opinion. Just Tony Khan constantly going to AEW, constantly just plugging AEW, just putting over AEW and over Impact, and not seeing the receipts out of it, getting the receipts out of it, and yeah. But hopefully, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a good match. I just feel bad because I really want to see FTR just defend their titles,
right?
On a singles tag team match, and then just defend one of their titles. But because like it's been a while since we've seen them on weekly television as a tag team together.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they definitely need to take the time. Maybe it's on FTR. They want to have some time off, or maybe that could be one of the reasons. But reasons away from the ring. But yeah, so that's in my place.
Although I must say that match this past week with Dax Harwood and Jay Lethal was fantastic.
That was a great match. Yeah,
fantastic. Speaking of Wardlow, who's also in that match, he is still the TNT champ. And there's a match on this card to determine a number one contender for that title called the Casino Ladder match. The last time that match happened, Wardlow won. This was back in March. They don't usually do these matches actually within the same year, so that's kind of interesting. But who do you see?
They always reserve it for Double or Nothing.
Right, and I don't think the field has been even announced yet. Who do you see as his next challenger coming out of that one?
Oh, that's pretty tough. I mean, the only logical person I could see would be Jay Lethal, in my opinion. Maybe he could show up in this match as well as a surprise.
Right.
Maybe as the Joker. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, the field has not been announced. But yeah, so
there have been talks. There have been rumors about a potential Wardlow versus Miro feud, which wouldn't be awesome. Wouldn't be the worst decision. I just think it's way too early to do that.
It's too early, yeah. Definitely, I agree with you. So.
There are a couple of personal rivalries as well, but for the first one, of course, between Christian Cage and Jungle Boy, and then Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs in the second. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jake. Of the two, which are you most excited about?
Yeah, that's really tough. I really want to see Jungle Boy go over in that match because, he's on fire. Lately, his promos has gotten better. His promo has been getting better.
Right.
At this point, I talk too much a little bit, so I'm talking a little fast there. But I mean, his personality is finally showing off, and I really want to see Jungle Boy get over, and then just like try to just finally get that revenge on Cage. So I mean, that's what I predict.
Is it time then for Jungle Boy to drop the dinosaur, do you think, and advance his singles career after this?
I will go a little bit further. I think it's time for him just to be Jack Evans. Jack Perry. So Jack Evans, Jack Perry. I mean, because I think it's he has already proven himself when he was with Luchasaurus. But I would love to see him more in a singles capacity to see what he can do. Just trying to expand more on his personality and what he can do in the ring. So
yeah,
but that kind of depends, where he put Luchasaurus after this. So there's kind of that conflicting thought as well. So
I mean, I guess he could be conceivably one of the people in the Casino Ladder match. I can see that.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I could also see Luchasaurus turning on Jungle Boy if it is
right.
If I make it firm, and then officially aligning himself with Christian Cage if he is going to get that win on at All Out. So I could definitely see that possibility.
Right. Yeah, it's funny when this whole when All Elite Wrestling first started, that was my first exposure to this whole Jurassic gimmick. I hated the character at first, and I still do kind of despise the Luchasaurus gimmick. But Jungle Boy has completely won me over. His in-ring work is tremendous. he stands out from the pack, and his character is
Sure.
super over. Like his theme music, people have sing along to his theme music. That it's a very catchy tune.
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
It's a classic.
It is a classic for anybody who's watched those like '90s teen movies, any '90s teen movies. That song was always played throughout. So yeah, it's definitely a classic, and he's definitely on his way up.
I gotta say, Christian Cage is. I think we're finally seeing the best of him here in AEW. I mean, obviously, the past several weeks, he's been killing it on the mic and definitely fulfilled that role that MJF has been missing about for the past few months. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see Christian Cage finally breaking out of the shell that is just being a liaison to those guys. And to be honest with you, I really want to see Cage having one more title run here in AEW. Maybe that will not happen. Maybe he'll just focus on putting over younger guys. But selfishly, I just want to see Cage having that one more title run. If it's going to be the TNT title, or the world title, whatever you name it, because he is so good on the mic.
Just announced on Dynamite as well this week is the match for the AEW tag belts with the Acclaimed taking on Swerve and Our Glory. This one kind of came out of nowhere, but should be a good one. Do you see the Ass Boys somehow getting into this and making it a triple threat?
Yeah, that could be a possibility. This is one of the matches which I'm not certainly interested because it was such short notice. But maybe it'll win me over on the Go Home Dynamite. But it's tough because Keith and Swerve they're great together as a team. Swerve Strickland he's definitely one of the best charismatic guys right now in the industry. But yeah, I could see the Ass Boys trying to politic themselves and make this a three-way match.
For sure. Well, Jake, thank you again for joining me. But before I let you go, I'm just going to make a smooth transition and talk about some of your favorite things with this week's personality profile. Start with your favorite band or musician.
Ooh, my favorite band and musician. It's got to be the Foo Fighters.
Your biggest thrill in life.
I'm becoming a senior in college right now, and getting into broadcasting. I'm really excited what's coming up, and having the chance to intern right now in radio. So that's why I'm my thrill, I would say, right now. Just expanding on my career in broadcasting. So it's all
sure, sounds good. Person you would most like to meet.
Ooh, a few weeks ago I would have said Punk, but getting the chance to meet him at C2E2.
Yeah, I saw that
for about 15 minutes. That was like the boyhood dream coming true for me. So, other than that, I would love to meet Ewan McGregor, especially after Obi-Wan, because that was one of the best.
Loved it.
One of the best shows that I've ever seen in recent memory. So,
your favorite sport besides wrestling?
Besides wrestling and MMA, it's definitely hockey. Growing up since I was 10, playing a little bit as a goalie, and unfortunately a little bit of an injury kind of cut my playing career short. But the NHL, the AHL were two of the best right now. So I think my second after that would be F1. Recently, because
I saw that you getting into that. I've been interested actually in checking out that Netflix series as well.
Oh yeah, that Netflix series Drive to Survive, it really won me over. And then having some conversations with Mouth, he's a diehard ever since the 80s. So so yeah, it's really good. And obviously our mutual friends John Pollock and Wei Ting, they've become recent F1 fans.
I've heard about that too.
Rewind away on Drive to Survive, covering that, and then they're becoming they're full on. They're all no pun intended, all in on this on F1. Their favorites, they're Red Bull guys, so they love Max Verstappen. I'm a Lewis Hamilton guy, so yeah, it's really cool, man.
Who's your favorite athlete?
Oh man, it's so tough. It always comes to two. My second would be Patrick Kane. because he's the best. He's one of the best shooters of all time,
right?
And one of the best stick handlers in the NHL. Obviously, with my favorite team, the Chicago Blackhawks, but to me, my number one would be George St. Pierre. He's to me, he is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. I could care less what John Jones. I could care less what people say about John Jones. I don't care. I don't care about him for the very least. But GSP, he's so good. I mean, his wrestling style over the years in mixed martial arts, it's been tremendous. And he always has he's like multiple fight of the nights, especially for the past several years. So yeah, I mean, I love George St. Pierre.
Your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show has got to be of all time. It would be The Flash, I would say. So
that the new version or the 90s version?
No, I'd take that back. Arrow. So with
Arrow,
Stephen
okay.
Amell. So yeah,
okay.
Arrow. Yeah, Arrow. I love the DC. In general, I love the DC TV shows on the CW. Arrow would be first. The Flash would be second. Yeah.
Sure. Do you have any hobbies?
Hobbies, a lot of video games. Sometimes I would love to play basketball, and other than that, pretty much just. I've become growing up. I wasn't really huge on reading, but now that's coming into my last years as a college student, and being inspired by John. But John Pollock, who's he's a huge reader himself. I think he reads 50 books this year.
Oh wow!
I don't know how he does it. Within the past year, I should say, 2021. So I mean, he inspired me.
I've read maybe 10 books in the last 3 years, and that I consider that impressive. But 50.
I've read 5 books the past 2 years, to be honest with you. So, but the book that I am currently reading is a great one. Is called Death of the Territories by Tim Hornbacher.
Yeah, I've been looking for that to read that. Yeah.
It's a tremendous read about the formation of professional wrestling, coming back since the late 50s on the Dumont Network, and as well as how the boom first started, the national expansion overcame that in the 80s, and it's interesting because the territories are still a relatively new thing for me. But over the years, thanks to the WWE Network, Peacock here in the U.S., I've started to dive back on some of the old school territories, Mid-South.
Right.
Mid-South is my favorite World Class Championship
I have
wrestling.
The DVD for Mid-South, yeah. It's a great
Jim
one.
Crockett Promotions, yeah. How about you? Were you? Was it just WWF for you, or did you get any of the other territories?
I grew up watching in the late 80s, so it was mostly WWF when I first started, and then I kind of started watching WCW and ECW in the late 90s. I didn't start getting into the territories until the WWF released their DVD series, the documentary series.
Oh, okay, yes.
So that's when I started getting interested in those and checking out YouTube videos and all that. But yeah, it was mostly just WWF growing up.
Okay, that makes sense. So, but another great territory I started watching is the AWA.
Okay.
It's that's where Bobby Heenan and Gene Okerlund got their first starts.
I remember that.
Dude, it's they were tremendous since the very beginning.
Yeah, that's where Hogan and Andre the Giant came from there as well. There were so many others that Vince basically raided their territory.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Your favorite fast food?
Chick-fil-A.
Okay. Yeah. Favorite video game?
Ooh, it's got to be Call of Duty Black Ops. It's I'm more like a shooter type of video game guy. I mean, Halo and Gears of War, so definitely not.
Your favorite cartoon character?
Scooby-Doo. Grew up watching the original version and then some of the newer versions recently. I mean, he's still definitely the most entertaining.
Your favorite actor?
Man, there are so many. I'm gonna have to say Stephen Amell because he's tremendous as Arrow. So
yeah, it's interesting. I loved him in Heels actually too. I don't know if you've seen that.
He was tremendous. Yeah. Heels is really good. one of the best, and especially I guess appearance with Punk. So
Yeah.
him and Punk are really bounced off each other good on heels. So I'm looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, one of my coworkers, actually, his son was an extra in that show. It was during the when the brother, I can't remember his name now, he was watching his childhood soccer game or something. So he would have been one of the kids running around in the soccer field.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Would you have a favorite actress?
Yeah, that is so tough. There's so many great actresses. I'm going to say Jennifer Connelly. Because I loved her appearance on Hulk, the Hulk back in 2003.
I remember that.
He was pretty entertaining too. So.
Do you have a favorite food? So we talked fast food earlier. So this is just food in general, like home cooking.
Chinese food, without a doubt. Like, just like orange chicken, chow mein. You name it.
Sure. Do you have a secret talent?
Ooh, not that I know of. It's been a while since I've played it, but I love playing pool, which I haven't. Just trying because I have a pool table like here in my basement. I sometimes just use it for leisure by myself, so just practicing. So I would love to play with teammates and teammates more on that. So, but I love playing billiards.
Okay, and last but not least, and I usually save this question for last because most of my guests consider it the most challenging. But your favorite movie?
It's gotta be Endgame. Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame. I can tell you're a comic book fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that wraps up another week. I'm going to be back at it next weekend with a review of each show. Yes, it will be a 2-part episode, so stay tuned. Until then, I'll say ABC. Ya.